Have you ever woken up and felt like you were already behind, like your life was on autopilot, rushing from one thing to the next? Emails, texts, traffic, to-do lists. And yet, deep down, you couldn't help but wonder, is this all there is? I used to feel that way every single morning, not because my life was falling apart, but because I couldn't feel myself in it anymore. Every day started the same: phone, coffee, noise. And before I even had a chance to think, my day was already speaking for me. Until one morning, I woke up at 5:30 a.m., not because I had to, but because honestly I couldn't sleep. There were no meetings, no alarm. Just silence. I got out of bed, poured a glass of water, stepped outside onto my small balcony, and just stood there, breathing, watching the sunrise. That moment didn't come with fireworks, but it was the first time in years I felt like I had returned to myself, and it changed the way I started every morning since. In today's video, I'm going to walk you through 10 simple morning rituals that will help you feel clearer, stronger, and more grounded before the world gets loud. Tools rooted in Stoic philosophy and modern psychology, used by some of the most centered, focused people I've ever studied. And most importantly, a way for you to reclaim your mornings, and with them, the direction of your life. What would your life look like if your mornings weren't rushed, but intentional? What if the first hour of your day wasn't about catching up, but about catching your breaths? If you've ever longed for peace, for clarity, for the sense that you are in charge of your life again, then this video is for you, because how you begin is how you build. Let's start there, at the very beginning, with the one decision that can shift everything. Let's talk about reclaiming your first hour. Reclaim the first hour, why it shapes who you become. Let me take you back to a quiet Sunday morning years ago. I had no meetings, no deadlines, just time. I woke up earlier than usual, not because I had to, but because something inside me felt restless. I sat in the stillness of my room, with a cup of warm water in hand, and for the first time in a long time, I wasn't rushing. I wasn't reacting, I was just there, fully present, and that one quiet hour changed me. You see, most of us don't own our mornings. We surrender them to alarms, to emails, to group chats, to the noise of the world demanding something from us the moment we open our eyes. But that first hour, those first 60 minutes are sacred. They are not just the start of a day, they are the blueprint for who you're becoming. Think of it like this: a pilot doesn't take off without a flight plan. A musician doesn't perform without tuning their instrument. And yet, how many of us step into our days, our lives, without tuning ourselves? Take someone like Tim Ferriss. In one of his interviews, he shared how owning his first hour was the most consistent habit among successful people he studied: CEOs, athletes, creators. The first hour was never reactive. It was intentional. And no, this isn't about waking up at 4:30 a.m. just to sound impressive. It's not about some magical number on a clock. It's about what you do with the time you have, and more importantly, who you allow yourself to be before the world gets a chance to decide for you. When you reclaim your morning, you reclaim your mind. When you reclaim your mind, you reclaim your life. So here's a small but powerful lesson. If the first thing you touch in the morning is your phone, you're already on someone else's agenda. But if the first thing you touch is your breath, your thoughts, your intention, you're leading from within. Even 5 minutes of quiet can rewire your entire day. Even one sentence written in a journal can reconnect you with who you are. Even one deep breath taken with awareness can bring you back from autopilot. That's not just a productivity hack, that's a life philosophy. And if you're wondering what to do with that first hour once you reclaim it, don't worry, we're just getting started. Because in the next part, I'm going to show you how the smallest action you take in the morning can trigger a ripple effect of confidence and clarity. Let's talk about small wins. 2 small wins, big momentum, the power of micro commitments. Let me tell you something simple that changed everything for me. I started making my bed every morning. I know, doesn't sound revolutionary, right? But here's the truth. I wasn't doing it for a tidy room. I was doing it to reclaim a sense of control, even if it was just over my blanket. There's something quietly powerful about doing one small, intentional thing before the day even begins. It tells your brain, I follow through, I keep my word, I finish what I start. And that's where momentum begins. A few years ago, Admiral William McRaven gave a famous speech at the University of Texas. He said, "If you want to change the world, start by making your bed." At first, people laughed, but what he meant was profound. Small wins create a ripple effect. One completed task gives birth to the next. Discipline compounds. And in a world full of chaos, one tiny act of order is an act of rebellion. Let me share a quick story. A friend of mine struggled for years with anxiety and overwhelm. She always felt behind. Her mornings were frantic. Her goals scattered, but one day she decided to try something different. She committed to doing just one small task, making her bed, then drinking water, then writing 3 words in a journal. That's it. Within weeks, everything changed. Not because her problems disappeared, but because her identity began to shift. She stopped seeing herself as someone stuck and started seeing herself as someone in motion. And motion is everything. Stoic philosopher Epictetus said, "Progress is not achieved by luck or accident, but by working on yourself daily." Making your bed, washing your face, opening the curtains, these things aren't trivial. They are micro-commitments, proof that your actions, no matter how small, matter. The mistake most people make, waiting for motivation. But motivation is unreliable. It's a mood. What works instead is momentum. And momentum is built from movement. So here's a question for you. What's one small thing you can complete every single morning, no matter how you feel? Because when you win the first few minutes, you begin to trust yourself again. And when you trust yourself, you stop chasing perfection. You start building consistency. And speaking of movement, there's something even more powerful than ticking off a task. It's when you move your body, even gently, to awaken your whole system. So let's talk about that next. Let's talk about moving before you feel ready. 3 movement before motivation. Activate your energy naturally. Here's something nobody told me growing up. You don't need to feel ready to move. You just need to start moving. For the longest time, I thought I was lazy. I'd wake up, lie in bed scrolling, hoping motivation would strike like lightning. But instead, I'd just feel foggier, heavier, slower. Until one morning, out of frustration more than inspiration, I got up and walked barefoot outside. Just 5 minutes, no phone, no plan. By the time I came back in, something had shifted. Not everything, but enough. My breath was deeper. My mind was calmer, my mood lighter. And that was the beginning of a lesson I'll never forget. Movement creates energy, not the other way around. You see, your body isn't separate from your mind. They're not teammates, they're one system. And when you move, even gently, you send a clear signal. I'm awake, I'm here, I'm ready. You don't need to crush a workout or sweat through your clothes. This isn't about punishing yourself into productivity. It's about honoring your body with presence, not pressure. Here's what I do now most mornings. I roll out of bed and do 1 minute of movement, just one. Some days it's stretching. Some days it's shaking my arms out, rolling my shoulders, or walking outside with my coffee. No rules. Just wake the body so the mind can follow. Carl Jung, the brilliant psychologist, once wrote, "The body is merely the visibility of the soul." What your body holds, your psyche expresses. So if your limbs feel heavy in the morning, maybe your spirit's asking to move. If your breath is shallow, maybe your mind is craving space. The mistake we often make, waiting to feel motivated before we move. But that's like waiting for a fire to appear before striking the match. You don't need motivation, you need emotion, and motion makes momentum. every time. So the next time you wake up feeling stuck, try this. Don't reach for your phone, reach for your body. Stretch, walk, shake, breathe. Let movement break the spell of stillness. And once your body is awake, you'll notice something beautiful. Your willpower returns, almost like it was waiting for you to show up. Now that your body's online, there's another system that desperately needs your attention, one that's been quietly running on empty all night, your hydration. Let's talk about that next. 4. Drink before you think. Rehydrate your brain, reboot your mind. Let me ask you something simple. What's the very first thing your hand reaches for after you wake up? For most people, including the old me, it's coffee. Strong, hot, comforting. It feels like waking up in a cup. But here's the thing no one told me. Your brain isn't craving caffeine first thing. It's begging for water. You've just spent 6-8 hours without a sip. That's nearly a third of your day in mild dehydration. And when your body is dry, your brain gets foggy, your mood gets unstable, and your ability to think clearly fades. One morning, after a long stretch of groggy, unproductive starts, I tried something ridiculously simple. I placed a glass of water next to my bed the night before. And when I woke up, before coffee, before emails, before anything, I drank it. Just water. It was like flipping a switch. No, I didn't suddenly become Einstein, but I did feel sharper, calmer, more present. It was like my thoughts had space again, my emotions had oxygen, and the best part, that glass of water became a signal. It said, today I choose clarity first, not comfort, not habit, clarity. Stoic philosophy teaches us this beautifully. Epictetus said, no man is free who is not master of himself. And sometimes, mastering yourself starts with mastering the first choice of the day. Do I follow impulse? Or do I follow intention? Coffee will come later. Trust me, I love it too. But water comes first, not because it tastes better, but because it honors your system. It's a quiet act of discipline, a tiny moment of self-respect. And those tiny moments, they build identity. The mistake most people make, thinking clarity comes after caffeine, but clarity is actually built before stimulation, through hydration, through breath, through choice. So tomorrow morning, I challenge you, before you think, before you scroll, before you react. Drink one glass, room temperature or cold, doesn't matter. Just that one act of nourishment, one act of presence. It's not about water. It's about who you're choosing to be. Now, let's talk about what might be stealing your clarity even more than dehydration, something most of us do before we even stand up. Let's talk about your phone. 5. Skip the scroll. Protect your inner space. There was a time, maybe you can relate, when the very first thing I did every morning was reach for my phone, just for a quick check, I told myself. But 15 minutes later, I'd already scrolled through 5 headlines, 3 texts, 2 Instagram reels, and one sinking feeling in my gut. I hadn't even gotten out of bed, and I already felt behind. Sound familiar? We live in a world where your mental real estate is up for grabs the moment your eyes open. And when you start your day consuming other people's noise, opinions, updates, outrage, you surrender the most precious thing you have. Your inner space. You see, mornings are sacred. They're when your mind is soft clay, still forming, still shaping. What you expose it to first sets the tone for everything that follows. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." But how often do we give away that power before our feet even touch the floor? Let me share a turning point for me. One morning, after another rushed scroll fest, I closed my phone and just sat there, staring at the wall. I felt fragmented, anxious, like I'd already lived an entire day, and it wasn't even 7 a.m. So the next morning, I made a rule: no phone for the first 30 minutes. Instead, I sat in silence, breathed, thought. I wrote a sentence. I looked out the window, and in that silence, I found something I didn't realize I was missing myself. Carl Jung once said, Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. And scrolling first thing, that's unconscious behavior. It's autopilot, it's reaction. But when you delay that urge, even just a little, you take the wheel back. The mistake we make, thinking scrolling is catching up. But most of what we're catching is other people's urgency, not our own truth. So try this. Tomorrow morning, put your phone on airplane mode and place it across the room. Give yourself 20-30 minutes of uninterrupted clarity. Journal, breathe, sit in silence. Let your own thoughts arrive before the world crashes in. It's not about being anti-tech, it's about being pro-you. And once you've protected that space, just a little, you'll notice something beautiful. Your thoughts get quieter, your body softens, and your day starts on your terms. Now that you've cleared the mental clutter, let's plant something powerful in its place. Let's talk about gratitude, not as a trend, but as a tool to rewire your perspective. 6. Practice gratitude as mental strength. Let me tell you about one of the hardest seasons in my life. I had just gone through a big loss, something I won't get into all the details of here, but every morning felt heavy. Even after the sun rose, my world stayed gray. I remember waking up one morning and thinking, what's the point? And then I read a line, just one sentence. Nothing is more honorable than a grateful heart. Seneca. At first, it felt impossible. How can I be grateful when things are falling apart? But I kept that line on a sticky note next to my bed, and each morning I forced myself, at first, it truly was forced, to write down one thing I hadn't lost. A cup of tea, a friend who texted back, the sunlight through the window, and slowly the heaviness didn't disappear, but it became lighter, because gratitude wasn't erasing the pain. It was grounding me in what was still real, still beautiful, still mine. Most people think gratitude is about being positive. It's not. It's about being present. When you train your mind to notice what's already here, you begin to realize you are standing in the middle of things you once prayed for. Modern neuroscience backs this up. Studies show that a daily gratitude practice increases dopamine, serotonin, and lowers cortisol. It's not just emotional, it's biological. It reprograms the brain to scan for good rather than danger. And you don't need a journal the size of a novel. Just write down 3 things. Every morning, no repeats. Here's what I wrote this morning. 1. My ability to create something today. 2. A friend who texted, you got this. 3. The quiet before the city wakes up. That's it. But in those 3 things, I feel rich, not in the Instagram way, but in the way that can't be taken from you. The mistake most people make, they wait for a reason to feel grateful. But gratitude isn't a response, it's a practice. And just like a muscle, it gets stronger every time you use it, especially when life makes it hard. So tomorrow morning, before the chaos begins, pause, breathe, and ask, what in my life is still good, even if it's small? Because the more you notice, the more you protect your peace. And the more peace you protect, the clearer your path becomes. Speaking of clarity, what if I told you there's one more thing you can do each morning that doesn't take more than 5 minutes, but completely rewires how you show up in the world? Let's talk about visualization, not wishful thinking, but mental rehearsal for the person you're becoming. 7. See yourself succeed, the science of visualization. A few years ago, I was preparing for one of the most important conversations of my life. It wasn't on stage. It wasn't a big public event. It was a personal moment, something that scared me more than any speech ever could. And the night before, I sat down, closed my eyes, and imagined it. Not just the words I'd say, but how I'd feel. How I'd stand, how I'd breathe. I imagined the tension, the fear, but also the calm underneath it. I saw myself not being perfect, but being present, and that changed everything. The next day, when the moment came, my body already knew what to do, because my mind had been there first. Visualization is not fantasy, it's rehearsal. It's what Olympic athletes do. Michael Phelps used to mentally swim every stroke of his races, visualizing not just victory, but setbacks. His goggles filling with water, a false start, the pressure, so when the race actually happened, he wasn't caught off guard. He was ready. Stoic philosophers understood this long before neuroscience gave it a name. Marcus Aurelius, every morning, would prepare his mind for the day ahead, not with wishful thinking, but with clear reflection. He'd write about the kind of person he wanted to be, the virtues he needed to hold, the obstacles he might face. Epictetus called this premeditatio malorum, the premeditation of evils. Not to dwell on fear, but to meet it before it knocks. And Carl Jung would have called this process individuation, the conscious effort to become who you truly are. So how do you practice it? Every morning, close your eyes for just 2-3 minutes. Picture your day, but not as a blur of tasks. See the you want to show up as, calm in that meeting, grounded in that hard conversation, focused when distractions arrive. Kind even when you feel short-tempered. And don't just see it, feel it. Feel the breath, the posture, the inner strength. You're not trying to be perfect. You're training your brain to recognize the path forward before the world gets loud. The mistake most people make, they react their way through the day instead of rehearsing who they want to be. But every great performer, every great leader, every centered person you've ever admired, they didn't just hope to be that way. They practiced it quietly, daily, intentionally, and you can too. Tomorrow morning, give yourself 5 silent minutes. No noise, no pressure, just vision. Because when your inner world is clear, the outer world doesn't shake you so easily. And once that image of you, strong, focused, grounded, is in place, it's time to feed it. Because you can't run a high-performance mind on empty. Let's talk about fueling your brain the right way. 8. Fuel your brain. Nourish before you perform. Let me paint you a picture. You wouldn't expect a race car to win the Grand Prix with an empty tank, right? You wouldn't ask a surgeon to operate without steady hands or a clear mind. And yet, most of us expect our brain, our most powerful engine, to function at full capacity each morning, on nothing but caffeine and a couple of rushed bites of sugar. For years, that was me. I'd wake up, down a coffee, maybe grab a pastry or skip breakfast altogether. By 11 a.m., I was foggy, easily distracted, craving more sugar, wondering why I couldn't focus. And then it clicked. I was running a high-performance system on junk fuel. When I started treating breakfast not as a routine, but as a ritual of respect for my mind, things changed. I kept it simple, a glass of water first. Then something that nourished me, not just filled me. Protein, healthy fats, fiber, something real. One of my go-to morning meals, a couple of eggs, half an avocado, some oats with nuts and berries. Nothing fancy, but everything intentional. Within days, my focus improved. My mood steadied. I wasn't chasing energy spikes. I was sustaining energy naturally. Here's what the science says. Your brain consumes about 20% of your body's energy, even at rest. To think clearly, to feel steady, to respond rather than react, you need glucose from slow-digesting carbs and essential fats that support hormone balance and memory. But it's more than biology. It's philosophy, too. Epictetus said, "No man is free who is not master of himself." And mastery doesn't start in the mind, it begins in the body. How you treat your physical form is how you train your mind to behave. Rush, your thoughts will rush. Neglect, your focus will scatter. But when you start the day by feeding yourself well, you send a deeper message. I matter, my clarity matters, my presence matters. The mistake most people make, thinking of food as background noise. But food is chemistry, and chemistry shapes psychology. So here's a small challenge. Before you reach for the processed bar or skip your meal, ask yourself, would I expect a pilot to take off without fuel? Then why would I expect my mind to take off without support? Tomorrow, try this. Prep one nourishing breakfast ahead of time. Keep it simple. Eat slowly. And notice how it feels to start your day fueled, not just filled. Because your body isn't a vehicle you drag behind your ambition. It's the foundation your mind stands on. And once you're fed, fueled, and focused, there's one last thing to seal it all in: words, but not the ones you hear from others. The ones you speak to yourself. Let's talk about affirmations and why the voice in your head may be the most important one you'll ever listen to. 9. Speak life into your day. The power of affirmations. There was a time in my life when I woke up every morning already losing, not because of what I had to face, but because of what I was telling myself before I even got out of bed. You're not good enough. You're behind, you'll mess it up again. Those weren't just passing thoughts. They were scripts, ones I didn't write, but repeated every single day, quietly, automatically, until one morning I had this moment. I caught a glimpse of myself in the mirror and whispered, almost out of defiance, "I don't have to believe everything I think." It felt strange, even fake, but I said it again and again. And eventually, I started to believe something different. That was my first experience with affirmations, not as some fluffy mantra, but as an act of mental self-defense. Because if you don't consciously direct the voice inside your head, the world and your past will do it for you. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts." That includes the thoughts you speak, the ones you whisper, the ones you rehearse daily. And Carl Jung echoed this beautifully when he said, "Words are animals alive with a will of their own." Think about that. Your words are not passive. They are creative energy. They build you or break you, one sentence at a time. So what would happen if, instead of letting your inner critic run the show, you deliberately chose words that aligned with the person you're becoming, not cheesy slogans, not fake confidence, but simple truths spoken out loud? I'm allowed to begin again today. I choose clarity over chaos. I respond, I don't react. I can do hard things and still stay soft. Even if your voice shakes, say it anyway. Because repetition reprograms identity, and spoken intention becomes lived experience. The mistake most people make, thinking affirmations are about believing something you're not, but they're not about pretending. They're about practicing who you are out loud until it becomes real. Try this tomorrow. Stand still. Put your hand on your chest. Say one sentence that speaks to the person you want to meet today, you. Let your voice remind your nervous system that it is safe to try, safe to grow, safe to trust again. Because when the world gets loud, you need something louder inside you, not in volume, but in conviction. And once you've spoken life into your day, there's one more thing I want you to do. It's simple, free, timeless, and it has the power to reconnect you, not just to yourself, but to everything around you. Let's talk about stepping outside and remembering where you came from. 10. Connect with nature. Return to what grounds you. There's a kind of fatigue that no amount of sleep can fix. It's not in your muscles. It's not in your mind. It's deeper than that. It's the exhaustion that comes from being disconnected. From stillness, from rhythm, from the real world beyond screens and spreadsheets. I didn't realize how much I needed nature until I accidentally stumbled into it. One morning, I left my phone at home and walked down to a quiet park near my apartment. I didn't go for exercise or steps or goals. I just walked. No podcast, no productivity. And in that stillness, I noticed something I hadn't in a long time. The trees breathing slowly. The way sunlight cut through leaves like golden threads. The feeling of dirt under my shoes that reminded me, you're not above nature. You're a part of it. That walk didn't solve all my problems, but it did something better. It reminded me that my problems aren't the only thing that exists. The Stoics understood this deeply. Marcus Aurelius wrote, Adapt yourself to the life you have been given and truly love the people with whom destiny has surrounded you. That includes the earth beneath your feet, the air you breathe, the moment you're in. Carl Jung, too, believed that much of modern suffering came from separation, from our instincts, from each other, from the land. Natural life is the nourishing soil of the soul, he said. And when you step into it, even for 5 minutes, you're not escaping life. You're returning to it. You don't need a mountain or a forest. Sometimes it's just stepping outside barefoot, letting the morning air touch your face. Noticing the sky instead of your inbox. The mistake we make, thinking connection requires Wi-Fi, but the deepest connection comes from silence, breath, and presence. So tomorrow morning, after you journal, after you breathe, after you nourish, step outside. Even if just for a moment, notice the wind, the ground, the quiet, and remember, you are not just a mind to be sharpened, you are a soul to be grounded. So now you've walked with me through 10 quiet practices, each small, each doable, each powerful. Not hacks, not trends, but rituals to help you return to yourself before the world asks you to be everything else. You don't have to do them all. You don't have to be perfect. But what if tomorrow you tried just one? One moment of silence, one glass of water, one deep breath before the scroll. That one choice might change how you see your entire day. And when you change the way you begin to change the way you live. If this video resonated with something inside you, if it reminded you that peace isn't found but practiced, then I'd love for you to join this journey. Hit subscribe, leave a comment, and share your own morning ritual or which of the 10 resonated most. And share this with someone you care about, someone who deserves a softer, steadier start to their day, because in a world rushing to do more, we're learning to start by being more, with less noise and more depth. Thank you for spending this time with me. Until next time, stay steady, stay grounded, and keep walking the quiet path forward.